really well defensively, and I think we took such a great lead that it was hard for them to come back from that, and the momentum that we had at that point really carried us through the game. I think that's been a sort of a struggle for us. In the last two games, we've really come out a lot stronger with a great mentality and I think a commitment to what we're doing, either offensively or defensively or both, and it really is showing. And I think, and that's great for us as coaches, because we're telling them this is what we're going to do, and they go out and they really execute that game plan, and it works, and then they feel empowered by the fact that they're able to get a lead on a team and be as successful as they've been. And it's great for us because they really buy into what we're telling them to do, and it's just it's just really going to help us move forward here as a group. And this is a really young team. I mean, we're starting really young kids with very little experience, and so what we do in these first games, win or lose, how we operate in these games is going to determine whether or not we can improve and be a competitive team in our conference. And right now we're seeing movement towards really making great strides, and that's what's the most encouraging for me.
Coach Danny Simpson, you talked a little about the youth of this team. Got to be encouraging for the longevity of this team. Can you single out any players, maybe like your redshirt sophomores, Livingston and Bow School?
Well, so we had 4 kids who were all out last year. Abshaw, who was a true freshman last year, and she played 6 games, I think, was out all year. Voskel was a sophomore last year, was out all year, so she's a sophomore again. Livingston, same situation, and then we also had Deswa Ademan, who was injured all year last year. So you've got 4 of your top 6 players, and none of them played a minute last year. And then you've got kids who played last year but played with different players, so there's no chemistry, no continuity. There's learning so much about how to play with each other. It's also a very different team than last year. I mean, we have a very different look. Our strengths are very different. And so trying to get a hold of what that is and what that was going to look like and how our team was going to shape up, I think this is really, I had said originally, it's going to take us probably 6 to 8 games to figure out who we are, who our leading scorers are, who needs to have the ball where. It's not like, well, we know this kid's just spot-up shooter, we're going to drive in and get it to her. Everybody was just trying to figure out who they were. And those, the 3 that you mentioned, well, you mentioned Livingston and Voskel, and, they were my 6th and 7th man as freshmen and played, some quality minutes as freshmen, and then sat out the entire year their sophomore year. It has really hurt us early on that we had those kids miss a year. Abshaw, who would have been much, freshmen, they go through this stuff. And she played 6 games, and now she's freshman again. And so she's going to go through the ups and downs. Now, she's been pretty consistent for us scoring-wise. She's our leading scorer as a freshman, a second-time freshman. And then Voskel and Livingston, those 2, they needed the time under their belt last year so that it would have been very clear going into this year that those 2 had emerged as our, kind of the kids who were going to take over the leadership on this program. They didn't play. And so that was sort of passed along to other kids who did play. And then when they came back, there was just this jockeying for position and who was going to do what and what were their roles going to be. And really, you as a coach, we have ideas of how that will look. And yet I'm not going to go in and say, okay, look, we're going to get the ball to her the most because she's going to be our leading scorer. We're going to do this. That stuff needs to be sorted out. And it's sorting itself out now. And in the last couple of games, we have really started to help each other score in ways that each kid has, using the strengths that they have. And before that, we really were trying to find our way. Now I hope that this is a turning point for us, but I think it is. But we had to struggle through some really disheartening losses in order to get to this point. And this first 10 minutes couldn't have gone any better, I don't think. I mean, it was about as good a basketball as we can play, and as well as we can shoot the ball. So.
Gabby Ortiz, allsportspeople.com. I wanted to ask about Kayla Livingston. Can you talk about her performance and how vital her role was into getting the team? Do you feel like the team built off her energy?
Absolutely. I mean, she's a dynamic point guard, and she's probably has the most capabilities as far as scoring as any point guard I've ever had here, and you know, trying to incorporate that into our offensive system. You know, she's needing to get the ball back. She can't just give the ball up and not get it back, and we're finding ways to make that happen. And she also can distribute the ball as well. You know, we're utilizing ball screens more. You know, there's an offense that we run where we pass the ball to the wing and she cuts to a corner, and then we set a ball screen. And she'd really like to be the one coming off that ball screen, but we didn't have her doing that. But we were passing it back to her in the corner, and she was hitting threes because she's dangerous there too. And so, you know, we're just really finding ways to utilize, you know, all of our kids. But Kayla she's a great player. She needs to find consistency, and you know, she had 2 really good games back to back. Our last game, she didn't play very well. She didn't shoot very well. She didn't score very well. This game, she plays really well again. You know, we're going to have to make our way through the inconsistencies because she had a whole entire year off the court, and she's really only a sophomore again. So, what I see when I look at Kayla is a work in progress. I mean, you saw a pretty good game from her today. She had the majority of her points in the first half, but she can score it, she can drive it, shoot it, drive it, she can distribute it. And she's going to, as she matures, she's going to be harder and harder to guard.
Sorry, Coach, you said it takes you about 6 to 8 games to figure out your identity. Based on today, identity seems to be that of Golden State Warriors with a lot of outside shooting. You guys only had like 1 point that wasn't from three-point line in the first quarter. Can you explain a little bit about, do you guys practice three-point shooting heavily, or was this just a good shooting night for you?
Well, that's not an emphasis of ours, and I wouldn't say we spend more time shooting threes than any other shots. I would definitely say no to that. In fact, in the first couple of games, I told them no shots until 10 seconds or less on the shot clock because I wanted them. I thought we were taking it one-on-one a lot. I thought we were trying to create our own shot, and my point to them was, let's assist each other. You know, and tonight we had 12 assists on 22 shots. Last game we had 15 assists on 22 shots, on 22 made baskets, and that's what I think is a sign of a good team, is when we can find each other where we have our strengths and get them the ball. Now tonight we were hitting on all cylinders, and we were finding each other. We weren't coming off the ball screen and creating that shot ourselves. We were reversing the ball and even at times making one extra pass and finding the open player and knocking down shots. And when we came into this game, I said Bowling Green is very different from Kent, who we just played. Kent was a very inside-oriented team, and Bowling Green can really shoot it. And I was going through all their statistics and looking at what they do, and they, you know, they hit 7.7 threes a game. That's what Bowling Green does. And so they're scoring a great amount of their points from behind the arc, and they're scoring like 60-some points a game, and you know, 25 of them are from behind the arc. And then I went back and looked at ours, and we're averaging 8 threes a game. And I would not say that we're a three-point shooting team. And then tonight we hit 14. So, you know, perhaps we are a three-point shooting team. We have a lot of different people who can shoot the three, and that's what gives us, I think, makes it harder to like single out kids and say, let's really guard this kid outside the 3-point line.
You talked about Bowling Green's strength, you know, shooting from